Smoke. Smoke.
Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. I put that on my partner, I put that on my family. Oakland City represent, address me as your majesty. Yeah, you can kiss a ring, but you can never touch the crown. I smoke a million Swisher blunts and I ain't never coming down. Bitch, you ain't no Barbie, I see you work at Arby's. Never too super silent, hurry up, I'm starving. Gnarly, radical, on the block I'm magical. See me at your college campus, baggy full of Adderalls. Call me if you need a fix, call me if you need a boost. See them other chicken heads, they don't ever leave the coop. I'm in the coop cruising, I got the stolen plates, serving all the fiends over there by the Golden Gate. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis. Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. I put that on my partner, I put that on my family. Oakland City represent, address me as your majesty. Yeah, you can kiss a ring, but you can never touch the crown. I smoke a million Swisher blunts and I ain't never coming down.
Smoke. Smoke.
Do you agree that there's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism, deadbeat dadism, white supremacism, and all the other isms? Destiny, that's a woman's name. You were raised by your daddy and mama. That makes you half man and half woman. You are a beta. You're not a real man, beta. I just have one question for ya, beta. There's just one thing I want to know. Destiny, do you love all people? Do you really love the blacks? Destiny, do you love black people? Why can't you just answer the question? Destiny, do you love all people?
Systems, the company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot belly goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house.
I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
I keep that thing on me. God damn it, Bobby. They see me selling propane and now they trying to copy. Pretend to be broke, but I got hella cash. If you use charcoal, I'ma kick your ass. Made this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch. Shot that fella cause he didn't make his payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement. Made this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch. Shot that fella cause he didn't make his payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement. Oh man, goddamn, I caught Bobby jacking off. Syrup ain't no cough. Big Hank, break the law. Lady Bird, that's my dog. Peggy got that wet, I'll flip you like a tech deck. Yeah, I run my set, I'm running up them checks. If you using charcoal, that's a red dot at your head. Propane till I'm dead, bitch, I'm off the meds. We be smoking loud, and you smoking on mid. Me and Dale getting lit, and I'm running from the feds. Made this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch. Shot that fella cause he didn't make his payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement. Made this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch. Shot that fella cause he didn't make his payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement.
your dreams go down the drain. Come on, wagey, join the crew. Don't you want your wages too? And if the boss man makes you blue, you deserve it, you're a screw. Weekend comes round after ages. You can come collect your wages. Throw your parties, have your rages, then get back to your cages.
Yo, let's go! It's a B-Word broadcast. How you doing, chat? How you feeling, huh? We coming in Saturday hot. Hot as an ember. Let's go. Hope you got your caffeine. Hope you got some sleep. Hope you're doing good. Let's go. As hard as possible. We got a crazy weekend lined up. Set off the fireworks. Blow up the sun. Pour the magma. Let the lava flow. Let's go. It's gonna be a hot stream. Oh, hell yeah. I'm feeling it. The super scuff stream. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. I'm excited for tomorrow. Haven't done poetry in front of an audience in so long. Been working on my poems. Working on my music. And you're gonna get a sneak peek. A sneak peek, everybody. You want a sneak peek of some music and poetry? Huh? It's gonna be good. It's gonna be pretty good. I'm excited, for one. I'm excited. All right, well, welcome to the B-Word broadcast. We're checking out a couple things today. Let's see what we got on the docket. All right, so we've got Box Loner versus Hasan. Yeah, LonerBox put out a I don't know if it's a takedown video. We're gonna find out for sure. But essentially, yeah, it looks like he's calling out Hasan for his himbo takes on Ukraine. So that should be super entertaining. And then we're gonna check out the Canadian housing crisis. If you're a Canadian, you know what I mean. There is a member of parliament in the NDP, sounded like a maritimer. I don't know for sure though, but he had a pretty interesting take. It's gone viral. We're gonna listen to it, check it out. And then, oh yeah, I forgot. We're gonna check out the Hippy Dippy. There's a debate last night, and apparently got a little spicy. We'll go see what that is, and then if that's boring, oof, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. What is going on with my computer? I've been having tech difficulties. Yesterday was a scuff stream. So Canada housing crisis, it's gonna be very enjoyable. I can't wait. I cannot wait. And then some music and poetry. Hopefully by then I've warmed up and I got some original poems, got some original songs for you. I got a full 15-20 minute set. And we'll run through that once, maybe even twice if I'm feeling it. And that'll be it. So hooey, everybody. Let's go find out. Let's go find out what this LonerBox thing's all about. Alrighty. We're 19 degrees and rising. Hot, go, we're go. Yeah, no, it was 30 degrees. 30 degree. It was the hottest, like, May 13th in like 125 years in Montreal. I was sweating. It was wild. I was like, oh, where are my fans? My fans are facing the wrong direction. Okay, all right. So we got ourselves why Hasan gets it wrong on Ukraine. And it's going to be spicy. I think it's going to be very spicy. Our favorite suave Scottishman.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no. What the f*** is this?
Oh.
Another socialist jumping in to criticize Hasan? What is all this leftist on leftist violence?
Socialism.
Did we learn nothing when the Social Democrats murdered Rosa Luxemburg?
He's got a point.
Probably not. But leaving that aside, I want to start this by saying that I don't hate Hasan. And although I think he does deserve a lot of
Does anyone really hate Hasan? Probably, I guess, yeah.
criticism, as this video will hopefully show, I do think there should be a difference between addressing your political opponents compared to someone that you could consider as one of your own. So if you are here for some brutal takedown where I call Hasan a dumb himbo or a political boy or
spicy.
Mr. Baby Potato Head,
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to be doing that.
Oh.
Except from just there as an example. In fact, I even owe Hasan an apology. A few weeks ago, one of my live stream segments included the following clip. The last time I was on Hasan's stream, I was streaming while I was watching Hasan's. He was watching the UN. He was watching the UN condemnation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Okay.
And the Chinese person was speaking, and Hasan's chat went f***ing ballistic, like China simping. Like,
China
tanky, like, no genocide, ooh woo, like, simping for the CCP and shit.
Uh-oh.
And he doesn't do anything about that. Clearly he doesn't, because I know he doesn't. I know Hasan doesn't believe in that stuff himself.
Oh, big
I
if
don't want to
true.
waste your time with the context here, so to put it briefly, the evidence I had for this claim was sketchy at best, especially given that I know Hasan has no love for tankies himself.
All right.
Ascribing extreme ideologies to people, even if it's by proxy of their audience, is never something that should be done lightly. I
background
apologize for
music's
jumping
awesome.
the gun, and it's something I'll do my best to avoid in the future.
Oh, he got called out. He's saying sorry to his community. Oh, look, it's an L, everybody. Look, it's an L in the wild. It's a proper L. I always like to see it. I mean, usually you can tell a lot about someone by how they apologize, by like how well they articulate what they did right or wrong and where they felt justified and not. So, yeah.
But enough of this polite, bromantic, Mickey Mouse bullshit.
Blood sports.
I know you people want to be entertained, so
Please.
let's make some arguments. This whole flim-flam started during the lead...
It's all in the wild. Yeah, exactly. Here, let me just make this a bit smaller so you can see the whole thing. There we go.
up to the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Oh, right.
On February the 11th,
Right.
Joe Biden warned that Putin could attack the country as soon as
I still can't believe they're still at war. It's wild. It's an L in the wild. Look at it. Look at it go.
the 16th, and urged any
Catch it.
Americans in Ukraine to leave as soon as possible. This was interpreted by many people as inconclusive intelligence, and officials in Europe had taken a more skeptical position, with one saying they refused to buy it, and another, when asked if an invasion was imminent, said it was difficult to say. Hasan was similarly skeptical himself.
What's up, folks? I'm live and alive, and we got a lot to talk about. I was right about Ukraine. That's right. War is not imminent. Oh, shocked. Shocked to find out. Anyway, we're going to talk about that and a bunch of other stuff.
This is such himbo energy. I think this is Hasan at his most himbo, and he's like kind of leaning into it like it's a joke, but it doesn't have to be a joke. You could just be like, yeah, there's a handsome boy being right about geopolitical issues. Thank God I found this on my Instagram or my TikTok, however you explain this.
So get in now.
Now, at this point,
But that's what I gotta do. I gotta figure out how to do that, everybody. Okay, craft me into a himbo of similar magnitude. You know, I gotta work the social meds or the who what nows.
would say he wasn't making any huge mistakes. Invasion technically wasn't imminent at the time. However, when the given date had passed and US intelligence continued to insist that the risk of invasion was very high, Hasan seemed to grow increasingly confident.
I think maybe I'll tell my editors to do this,
Sounds
but I
about
think
right.
I'll just change I'll change this every day to Ukraine has still not been invaded by Russia.
Oof.
Every day. To
Massive
make
L.
sure the
Is this just an L stream? Just a la 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 la. Like, this is 2 massive L's in a row. I don't know if I can handle it. This is a lot of cringe all at once.
to make sure that the wishes of these f***ing weirdo, like, I'm actually a sock them and you're a f***ing tanky idiots on the internet. Will, yeah, change it to Russia still has yet to invade Ukraine. And it's like day 11 at this point.
Then, on February 21st, Putin officially recognized the independence of 2 separatist
hate to see
regions
it.
in Ukraine and ordered Russian troops to enter the country under the role of peacekeepers. A term that hasn't aged especially well. But why am I starting with this? Hasan already admitted he was wrong here, didn't he?
More L's.
Well, kind of. The next day, he uploaded a video entitled, "I Was Wrong About Ukraine,"
How did he apologize? Let's see how he took the L.
where he does concede that he didn't expect an invasion. However, in the first 60 seconds, he goes on to once again challenge the US State Department, this time on their warnings about Russia moving beyond the separatist regions and attacking Kiev.
Because there's been a lot of information that has been wrong, completely wrong. And there's still a lot of information that the Western State Department is pumping out by way of mainstream media about like Russia is going to go and overtake Kiev and they're going to go into Ukraine. Yeah.
Like, and from what I understand, like that was a military tactic, like in information warfare to sort of prevent Russia from spinning a new narrative. And it was like a rather novel technique used by the U.S. State Department. This is why Russia hated Hillary Clinton, was because she was an effective Secretary of State who could use soft power. This is an example of American soft power doing an incredible job at telling the world the real narrative of the Russian invasion, which is a belligerent, and unjustifiable invasion, rather than like the denazification story being spun by the Russians.
About like Russia is gonna go and overtake Kiev and they're gonna go into Ukraine. Yeah, I would look like Tim Pool after that 49 state landslide if there was a bombing, active bombing.
He banned him for a week. I love it.
Currently happening on Kiev, and like Ukrainians were being murdered left and right at this moment. I would be that way if America was like, we're going with a full-throated, this is a full-blown invasion.
I think I'm gonna go sing that later.
And yet it hasn't happened.
Such a good song. And yet it has Lacrimosa, everybody. Mozart's Requiem?
So this isn't a great look, but I don't want this to just be another video gloating over the usual collection of viral Hasan clips. He's already shown a willingness to admit when he's wrong, and I'm sure he would have no problem doing the same when it comes to Kiev, if he hasn't done it already.
Okay.
But for me, being wrong isn't really the problem so much as why you're wrong. If I had to guess, he was probably wrong in this case because he wanted to take a position that contrasted from the US State Department, but I can't prove that. Maybe he just took a skeptical position.
Like putting high-level intelligence in quotations to like stress the anonymity of the reports that make it to news organizations. That sounds like what Hasan is doing. Yeah, interesting.
Position which was reasonable at the time, but then naively took it to a level of absolute confidence. Either way, the more important thing, at least in my opinion, is the process. It's how you arrive at your conclusions. And in this video, I want to take a look at Hasan's process, how he forms his arguments, and then we'll see if we can find any problems. Part 1.
Okay.
Who do we trust?
Who do you trust?
First,
who's a trusted voice on Twitch?
First off, Hasan is a difficult creator to respond to.
That could be like a tier list. Like a shit tier list. Who's full of shit? Who's least full of shit? Or who's least full of shit would be S tier. S-A-B-C. And then who's full of shit would be at the bottom. And it doesn't matter if you're left or right or center, it just matters like how authentic you appear to be. That could be interesting.
Mostly because his content consists of live stream uploads, some of which are over 3 hours long. And it is tempting to just make a video using viral clips from those streams, and there will be 1 or 2 of those.
There's like an entire industrial complex, the Hasan industrial complex as it's called. It's crazy that like once you reach a certain niveau, as long as you're cool with it, you can create a whole subculture of people reworking your original content and building the brand, which makes it, I guess, harder to contain it, keep people from like doing weird shit with your likeness and image.
But I wanted to go a bit further than that. Last month, Hasan did a reaction stream to a video called How the Gravel Institute Lies to You About Ukraine by a video essayist called Adam Something. Now, don't worry, this video is not going to be my response to Hasan's response to Adam's response to the Gravel Institute.
Thank God. Thank God.
Instead, I chose this video because I think it gives a really interesting look into how Hasan processes information.
Okay.
The video is over 3 hours long, but I will timestamp each segment I use, and I will link the VOD in the description just in case you're worried about context. So, firstly, I want to look at Hasan's approach to the annexation of Crimea, namely this fairly well-known take.
You feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable act by the Russian government, okay?
Sorry, what?
So that's it.
So there's a lot to unpack here, but before we get into that, here's a summary of Hasan's position. 1, he argues that the referendum was quote-unquote bullshit and the results were rigged. But 2, he also argues that polling data before and after the referendum showed that the annexation was in line with the wishes of the Crimean people. And 3, the history and demographics of Crimea provide a strong case for the peninsula becoming part of Russia. When it comes to that second point, here is Hasan's justification.
We are going back home. Crimea is in Russia. By the way, this 95.5% result is bullshit. We know this because, as I mentioned in my original Ukraine video, a Russian state agency accidentally...
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's actually 67.5 if you look at the Gallup polls leading up to the annexation of Crimea, and like 80% if you look at Western polling done in the region in the aftermath of the annexation.
So here...
Like, even I've been following this stuff, like, and this is really specific. Oh my god, okay, all right.
Here we have 2 points. A Gallup poll before the annexation showed 67.5% of Crimeans favoring secession, and the numbers after the annexation moved up to over 80%. Let's start with the first one. I couldn't find a poll that gave this exact number he mentions, but I did find one from 2008 showing that 63.8% of Crimeans wanted to secede and join Russia. Although this poll was conducted by the Razumkov Center in Ukraine, not by Gallup. Okay, so I know this seems very nitpicky, but I promise I'm doing this for a good reason. If he did just cite the wrong agency, that's not a big deal. But the point is, Hasan has said that he has some degree of trust for polling done by Gallup. Just keep that in mind for now, because a few minutes later in the stream, one of Hasan's chatters linked a poll from 2013 arguing that Crimean support for joining Russia was only 23%.
Wait, what? In 2013, a Gallup poll showed Crimea joining Russia only had 23 support. I'm confused. What are you referring
The International Republican Institute?
to?
/ Gallup? Wait, what?
I'm referring to the only study that wasn't directly conducted by the CIA when I'm talking about it. Like Gallup, which still has Western biases,
Wait, what?
but certainly is, I think, a little bit more honest than a public opinion survey from, the International Republican Institute with funding from the United States Agency for International Development.
I am having a bad stream today. The YouTube didn't go through. It's just like in nowhere space. It's not showing up. It's so weird. Oh dang. Oh jeez.
I mean, dude, I agree that Russia Today is like, propaganda, and then you literally pointed to a U.S. aid-backed study.
Right, so I'm just going to put this sentence up on the screen so we're not missing anything. Now, when Hasan expresses a degree of preference for Gallup polls, I wonder how he would feel then if he noticed that the poll he's laughing at was conducted by Gallup.
Oops.
Like, not only
first
is
thing
it
I
on the
noticed.
first sentence of the report, which is visible on his screen,
It's also visible
it's
on
also
the,
on the cover,
yeah, that's the
which
first
he
thing.
was reading out loud.
So I'm a goof. I'm such a goof. This is so freaking funny. I'm 30 minutes into this stream and I just realized the YouTube video was set to private. Oh god. Oh jeez. Oh, I'm such a goof. Oh jeez. Oh no.
Like Gallup, which still has Western biases, but certainly is, I think, a little bit more honest
wondering
than a
what was
public
wrong.
opinion survey
Jesus.
from, the International Republican Institute with funding from the United States Agency for International Development.
And in case you didn't notice it, the chatter who sent him the link mentioned it too. Let's just think about what happened to medium rare OG when this happened.
Wait, what?
My guess is they will have heard Hasan citing a Gallup poll, Googled something like Gallup poll Crimea, clicked on the top result, found that the numbers were very far from what Hasan was saying, asked for clarification, and quite politely I should say, and then just got blasted for it. Like, Hasan, you were the one who brought up the Gallup poll. All this person did was look up your claim and ask you about it. I mean, which one is it? Is it that we trust the Gallup poll even though it wasn't conducted by Gallup, and we don't trust the poll which was conducted by Gallup because it also involved US aid? Are we operating on the premise now that everything coming out of US intelligence agencies is automatically wrong? Apart from when they successfully predicted the Russian invasion, of course. Now, to be clear, I'm not claiming to know which of these figures is the most accurate. More on that in a minute. But for now, let's look at Hasan's take on polls that were done after the annexation.
If you look at the Wall Street Journal, you see the same exact argument. If you look at the Financial Times, if you look at, quite literally, any news article from the West, okay, not just the East, but from the West, you will recognize that Crimea, straight the up, is in line with the decision made in the annexation, okay, in the fake bullshit, phony voting that was conducted in the annexation.
Oh, Hasan.
And for some reason, not a single person ever that wants to talk about Crimea ever brings that up. Ever. I don't know why.
So here he is completely correct that support for the annexation has been consistently high since 2014.
Oh, really?
One of those polls was even done by Gallup. But if he's wondering why people don't acknowledge that, I'd imagine it's because there are very obvious problems that come up when you're polling people in annexed territory. An article from 538 showed that polling results were incredibly volatile before the annexation and have only recently become more consistent because the Kremlin is now in a position where they can manufacture their own approval. Since 2014, the Crimean people have been subjected to levels of propaganda described as comparable to that of the Soviet Union, and with limited access to alternative sources. Some of Russia's political opponents in Crimea have already been outlawed, and pollsters have acknowledged that a range of intimidation tactics have made face-to-face polling increasingly difficult, especially for people with dissenting opinions.
Yeah, of course.
Meanwhile, up to 300,000 Russian citizens have moved to Crimea in the last 8 years, meaning that a poll today could reflect their opinions, but not those of the tens of thousands of Crimeans who fled during the occupation. This is why these results should at least be taken with a pinch of salt, and even if they were true, the idea of highlighting majority approval whilst the minority faces human rights abuses hardly seems like a good ethical stance. If I had to guess why Hasan was so adamant to dismiss the USAID poll, even though it was conducted by Gallup, I'd imagine it's because his entire position here is hinging upon whether or not the annexation had majority support. Now, I've already said that I don't know which of these results is correct, but for me, it doesn't really matter, because my argument would be this. Neither of these results would justify the annexation of Crimea. Part 2. Is Putin literally...
Yes.
So, let's just simplify things. Let's assume that this result is correct. It, let's say this one's correct.
96%.
Can we still say that the annexation of Crimea was wrong?
Kind of.
Very, very wrong.
It's still part
in my
of the
opinion,
state.
yes, and here's why. First, we have what I'll call the shit-lib argument, which is that the Crimean referendum was insanely illegal. It was illegal under both the Ukrainian and Crimean constitutions and under international law. Whatever the will of the people living there, the idea of rolling tanks in and holding a referendum at gunpoint should probably be off the table. You might run into some logistical problems like a referendum that essentially only offers the same option twice. Your military presence might make it difficult for people to communicate with polling agencies, and much more importantly, you've declared yourself a security threat. If you're willing to violate one international principle, what other boundaries will you cross? In the case of Crimea, the Russians conscripted over 25,000 residents, blocked traffic in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, resulting in disruptions to the Ukrainian economy, and they ultimately ended up using the peninsula as a key area to prepare for the invasion. Secession is never a decision that should be taken lightly, especially when it's being done unilaterally and without international recognition. That's why the same lib cucks who opposed the annexation of Crimea were also right to oppose Donald Trump when he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Even though someone who was pro-Israel could have just as easily argued that Jerusalem should be the capital on the grounds of its population being majority Jewish. Do you see what I did there? Because America's bad. Just remembering my audience. Now, you could say that many borders around the world are far from perfect. That's definitely true. But compared to most of our history, Europe has been relatively peaceful over the last few decades. And many would argue that a mutual respect for existing borders and sovereignty has played a very important part of that. And I don't know about calling myself a liberal, but I do think that argument sounds quite reasonable. Right?
Question marks all you want. I don't give a about the Ukrainian constitution. I don't give a about the Ukrainian like border sovereignty that some of you
God,
dumbasses
this is so
are
hard.
talking about. Like you're like a 3%er about for Ukraine. Okay, it's so stupid.
Oh.
Aw.
Well, okay. Maybe I have a better chance of getting through to you if I try a more left-wing humanitarian approach.
Okay.
Namely, the protection of minority rights. Very easy hypothetical. If tomorrow a poll found out that 99% of Americans decided they wanted to bomb Wyoming, should they be allowed to do it? No.
Yeah.
So that was easy, and I don't think anyone would say that democracy was meaningfully harmed in that decision. Democratic will isn't everything, especially when human rights are at stake. When it comes to Crimea, even if a majority of them wanted to join Russia, it's probably worth pausing to remember that 12% of the people living there are Muslim Tatars. And I know Hasan has heard about them.
Crimea, first and foremost, belongs to the Crimean Tatars. Okay? Crimea has historically been an autonomous region, a kingdom at a certain point.
Really?
Okay? In its own right. If there is a long list of groups or nations that Crimea belongs to, number one group of individuals that Crimea belongs to is the Tatars. The number two individuals that Crimea belongs to by way of the Crimean Khanate is the Turks. The number three group of individuals
so
that Crimea
little about
belongs to
this
is the
area.
Russians, because they purged the Tatars and now more Russians live there. Okay.
Wait, what?
Maybe number four, Greece. Fuck it. Give it to Greece instead. And then number five on there is Ukraine.
Anyone but Ukraine.
Okay? Number five is Ukraine. This idea that you have any sort of f***ing sovereignty and any sort of like constitutional sovereignty that needs to be held together. Crimea belongs to Mongolia before it belongs to Ukraine. So Ukraine number
Going
6
back
in that situation.
hundreds of years.
Okay?
Wait, what? I know so little about this area. Greece is
The
going to
idea
invade
that
Ukraine.
like it belongs to Ukraine blows my f***ing mind. It just blows my mind.
Really?
You can say bad take all you want, brother. You can say bad f***ing take all you want.
Question
Okay.
marks.
I know I said this would be a good faith criticism, but I really do think I'm being proportionate here when I say this is one of the craziest things I've ever heard someone say on the internet. I'm pretty sure he's just memeing when he says Greece. Okay.
Yeah.
But my real question is,
Yeah.
why
Mongolia.
the would purging the Tatars and importing Russians be a good reason for Russia to have a stronger claim over Crimea than Ukraine?
Yeah, that's the part
Bearing
I
in mind
understand.
that Crimea only became a Russian majority after the ethnic cleansing policies of Stalin, is that the rule now? We get to do imperialism today based on the fact that it happened in the past? And not to mention,
Pro-empire.
if Hasan really does think that Crimea primarily belongs to the Tatars, maybe he could have checked in to see how they felt about the annexation. And I say that not just because of the ways they were historically treated by Russia, but also because of the way they're currently being treated by Russia. The human rights abuses endured by the
Really?
Tatars since 2014 have already been fairly well documented. These have included, but are not limited to, physical attacks, enforced disappearances,
Yikes,
the banning of
yikes.
Tatar media, the banning of the Tatar
Boy.
executive body,
Uh-oh.
detention and fines for single picket protesters, and baseless terrorism-related prosecutions. If you remember this slide from earlier in the video, the victim of that one extrajudicial execution was a Tatar activist called Reshat Amatov. In March 2014, he was abducted by Russian paramilitaries after holding up a Ukrainian flag in front of the Crimean parliament
Oh,
as a lone
boy.
protester. 2 weeks later, he was found dead.
Yikes.
Forensics reported that he had been tortured and most likely died of brain damage after one of his eyes was gouged out.
What the
This is why you can't just look at polling numbers to justify the action. The fact that the Tatars boycotted the referendum should have been an obvious warning sign when the Russians invaded.
Right.
Much in the same way, a majority of Austrians supporting the Anschluss should have been very easily dismissed on the grounds that over 180,000 Austrians at the time were Jewish. Wait, did I just mention the Anschluss? Oh shit.
And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
dude. Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians at a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't f***ing bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was f***ing killing Jews.
No!
Okay? That was
What
the
are you doing,
problem.
Hasan?
He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler, I think.
So, I don't know
I remember
who
this.
Hasan has been talking
I remember this. Oh my god. Holy cow. We just moved on from that. It's so funny.
to here, but I'd imagine whoever he's arguing with would actually say something like, this one thing is bad and this one thing is worse. Let's
Right.
just put it this way. If someone asked you to list all the European leaders of the last 100 years who started by annexing territory on the grounds of uniting blood and soil, then followed up by invading a neighboring country, I'm just saying it's a small club. And is it a coincidence that in both cases, annexation was followed up by a full-scale invasion? Well, not really. In both cases, annexation served as a way of gauging how much could be gotten away with. It's a kind of testing of the water. That's why the world leaders at the time of the Anschluss were typically accused of underreacting and something appeasement towards Hitler's actions.
Right.
With the exception of one giga-chad Mexican president, of course.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're
Mexico.
talking about Hasan, so let's move on.
Yeah.
Part 3, Ukrainian language laws. For this section, I'll be looking directly at one of Hasan's responses to Adam Something when he plays a segment discussing the language laws in Ukraine. And what I think would be useful here would be to watch what Adam says first and then pause to ask ourselves what we've just heard. Once we've done that, we can hear Hasan's response and then see if there are any problems.
Eastern Ukrainians were horrified at what they saw as a far-right seizure of power, with veneration of Bandera and elimination of equal recognition for languages like Russian.
Service industry workers have since January been obliged to talk to customers in Ukrainian unless clients specifically ask to switch.
If I work, pay my employees' salaries and my taxes, it's none of your bloody business which language I do it in.
And here I want to briefly consider manipulation through word choice. The US recognized intergovernment was full of far-right people. The Easterners were horrified at what they saw was a far-right seizure of power. The elimination of Russian as an equal language. The use of emotional, loaded language serves to feed into...
Oh, please, dude.
So, what is Adam saying here? It sounds as if he's commenting on Gravel's use of emotionally loaded language when discussing problems with Ukraine. Particularly, the elimination of equal recognition for languages like Russian. Next, we saw a clip of a woman who now had to speak Ukrainian when speaking to her customers, unless they specifically asked for Russian. And then we hear a suggestion that Gravel is exaggerating the severity of Ukraine's language laws, and he argues this by stressing their use of the word elimination. Maybe he thinks they're dancing a little too close to the words of the Kremlin, who have described the laws as an outright ban of the Russian language, but that's just my guess. Now, so far, Adam has not commented on whether he thinks the Ukrainian language laws are good or bad. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a minute. But let's go back to where Hasan paused.
Oh, please, dude, go ahead. Oh, no, he's not going to say, like, the eradication of language and like, actually enforceable language laws are actually really good. Let's hear it. Please, go ahead. Or is he going to say that about the Turkish government doing that to Kurds, too? Yeah, wonderful experience for the Kurdish people, I'm sure, was when the Turkish government decided, you know, language is illegal. If you speak Kurdish, we will fucking, you know, arrest you.
So Adam has just criticized Gravel for using emotionally loaded terms like elimination, and Hasan clearly disagrees. He goes so far as to call it the eradication of language, and then goes on to talk about the banning of Kurdish by the government in Turkey. Maybe we should find out what's going on here. In 2019, the Rada approved a law which granted special status to the Ukrainian language. The law obliged all citizens to know the Ukrainian language, made it mandatory for public sector workers to speak Ukrainian while performing official duties, required that 90% of TV and film content be in Ukrainian, required for at least 50% of books and print media to be in Ukrainian, obliged print media outlets in foreign languages to print Ukrainian equivalents, and required computer software interfaces and scientific publications to be in Ukrainian.
It's quite the law.
Parts of the law did make exceptions for indigenous minority groups like the Tatars, as well as English and EU languages, but not for Russian. So I don't think I need to convince a left-wing audience that this looks pretty bad. And it's easy to see why the law has been criticized by Human Rights Watch, the European Union's Venice Commission, and even the then newly elected president and frequent Russian speaker, Vladimir Zelensky. However, what the law is absolutely not is a purge or elimination. In fact, even when the Venice Commission did criticize it, they only targeted specific aspects of the law, but ultimately supported its overall principle, and it even previously recommended a state language law for Ukraine. So you might wonder, why did Ukraine do this? Was it because their government was full of Russia-hating fascists? No. I know this irritates some people, but I'm gonna say it anyway because it's true. Ukraine is a country with a very rough history. Whether it was Catherine the Great, girl boss smashing the culture of the Ukrainian Cossacks, the EMS Act in 1876, which banned all publishing in the Ukrainian language, Stalin's purge of Ukraine's cultural leaders, the resettlement of Russians and Belarusians into eastern Ukraine after the Holodomor famine. There's a lot going on here. More recently, Ukraine has had the issue of Kremlin-backed outlets broadcasting propaganda on Ukrainian TV and radio stations, particularly in parts of the country with large Russian-speaking populations. Like Crimea and the Donbass. Part of their strategy in the current invasion has even involved the capturing of transmission towers and replacing Ukrainian news programs with pro-Russian broadcasts. Naturally, with 8 years of conflict in the east, Ukrainian concerns about Russian propaganda in their country has become a bit more pronounced.
I'm just going to go to the washroom. I'll be right back.
Even Zelensky, despite his more liberal stance on the Russian language, banned 3 of these outlets in 2021. So yes, there were legitimate problems with these laws. But if there's any country in Europe that has a good reason to want to promote its national language, it's probably Ukraine. And to even think of comparing it to the very real purge of the Kurdish language in Turkey is frankly insane. Because the last time I checked, Turkey was not living in fear of being invaded by some Kurdish-speaking superpower. The dying empire of Kurdistan was not systematically propagandizing and fomenting unrest within Turkey's borders, and you get the point. Bearing in mind, the clip we watched in the Gravel video was of a woman who was allowed to speak Russian if her customers requested it. But even when a chatter tries to challenge him on this point, Hasan doubles down on the Turkey comparison again.
The law is that you greet in Ukrainian, you can speak Russian, no problem, you got, man. Brother, I come from a country that literally has similar fucking couched language in their legislative agenda. It is so weird, dude. Like, it's so weird when you just completely overlook. When you completely overlook something. It's like saying, point to where the racism is in the law. I'm sorry, nothing bars black people from voting. It's actually just grandfather laws. It just means if your grandfather was not allowed to vote, you're not allowed to vote. It doesn't say black people can't vote. Why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. And especially if it's not that big of a deal, then there's no reason for that legislation to pass. Okay? I'm not mixing issues, okay?
Well, you are mixing issues. Unless you think the Human Rights Commission would support the sentiment behind grandfather clauses or the persecution of the Kurds. Like, how did this happen? I can only assume that Hasan didn't know the specifics of Ukraine's laws, and he definitely hasn't thought about the context behind them. Did he just hear the words language law and then jump to the first country he could think of that also has a language law? Is this the foreign policy equivalent of throwing someone a football and watching them try to smack it with a golf club?
You didn't even talk about Quebec.
Part 4, the Azov Battalion.
Or Azov.
So, there are a million ways we can address this issue. I do want to focus on something specific, but I know Hasan cares a lot about this one, so I'm going to cover a few bases. The argument here is that the Ukrainian military has incorporated groups like the Azov Battalion into its ranks, and as a consequence, any support we give to them will also strengthen and embolden their far-right presence. And obviously, I could just respond with the usual memes like, the extent to which Ukrainians have neo-Nazi sympathies is extremely overstated. Data from Pew Research found that anti-Semitic attitudes were lower in Ukraine than anywhere else in the region. I could mention that the far right's electoral presence has all but collapsed since 2014. And of course, we could mention that the Azov Battalion's numbers are currently estimated to be at about 900, suggesting that a good number of them have already died fighting under a Jewish president in some kind of based Operation Nazi Human Shield. Too far? And then we have the right sector, who once claimed to have up to 5,000 fighters, although this number is almost definitely exaggerated because fascists always lie about their numbers. But even if we believe him, I think it's safe to assume that 6,000 fighters out of an army of 200,000 probably won't be enough for a far-right power grab.
It's like 2%.
However,
I agree it's terrible, but there's only 1,000 members. So
it's when like, you know, they start to win war victories and gain popular support.
Seems tiny, not worth getting mad over. It's not just 1,000 members, man. Ukrainian far-right nationalism, ultra-nationalism is incredibly prominent. Shut the up. And also, these 1,000 people, the number keeps getting smaller and smaller, okay? But they're not the only battalion. They're just the one that got the most coverage, okay? And also, it's 1,000 people that we armed. We did the same exact thing with the Mujahideen. We did the same exact thing with the Contras. Oh, it's just a couple thousand people.
Okay.
Should be fine.
Can I predict 100% that this won't turn out like it did with the Contras or the Mujahideen? No. What I can do is list quite a few important differences. The Contras and the Mujahideen were anti-government rebels who were funded with the explicit purpose of undermining their governments in their own country. Their rise to power was not some unintended backlash. It was the goal. And this distinction kind of matters because if we are supporting the Azov Battalion, they're only empowered because we're also supporting the Ukrainian military who the fascists would have to defeat in order to gain power. If anything, I would say the Contras, being a foreign-backed anti-government rebel group, would have a bit more in common with the Russian-backed separatist groups in the Donbass, but that's just me. And if we want to talk about the Mujahideen, well, first of all, there were just a lot more of them. The problem with the Mujahideen
90,000?
is that we're comparing a modern developed nation like Ukraine to one of the most politically fractured nations in the region. Groups like the Mujahideen and also the Taliban didn't just owe their success to foreign backing. They also owed it to the existence of a power vacuum that has no equivalent in Ukraine. And you kind of need that equivalent for this comparison to work. What I think Hasan is guilty of doing here is he's taking the phrase, the US is supporting the Ukrainian military, some of whom are fascists, turning it into the US is arming fascists, and then linking it to all the familiar stories like Pinochet, the Contras, Operation Gladio, and all the other ones. But of course, foreign policy has changed quite a bit since the Cold War, and that old template of America funds fascist rebel groups with the explicit aim of crushing socialist governments doesn't really fit here. And maybe it's worth asking, if the Azov Battalion ever does decide to turn on Zelensky and try to take over, who do you think the United States will back in that situation? And if you know the answer to that question, any attempt to force this situation under the lens of Cold War containment policy kind of falls apart. But in any case, what is the alternative here? Because I know Hasan doesn't believe we should stop helping Ukraine.
Well, it looks like all that aid we're sending to Palestinians is ending up in the hands of extremists. Therefore, we should stop giving money and aid to Palestinians.
Who's saying don't give aid to Ukraine? Like, who the f***'s out here being like, do not help Ukraine at all? Do not help Ukraine at all. Who is giving guns to f***ing Hamas in this comparison in the same way? Is the CIA training Hamas? Is the CIA giving guns to Hamas?
Okay, so my question here would be, how would we stop that aid from reaching the far-right soldiers? Checks and balances? Do we send aid to Ukraine, but then also say, don't give this to the Azov Battalion, in which case they ignore us because they're being invaded? Do we hold back on aid on the condition that they purge all the Nazis from their military? In the middle of an invasion? This is why I think people tend to treat the Azov question as a bit of a non sequitur. It's because the only apparent alternative to it would involve drastically weakening Ukraine's defensive capabilities, and I imagine this is probably not the best time for that.
It's kind of where I landed.
It is possible that Russia's actions could destabilize the country to a point where the far right does become empowered. But, of course, a good way to stop that from happening would be to support the Ukrainian military, some of whom are fascists, and then we're back at square one. But as grim and unsettling as it is to see these people being armed, a few Azov and right sector fighters in the Ukrainian army are hardly the warning signs of a fascist rise to prominence. Unless there's something I'm missing?
They're gonna rise to prominence after this. It's over. Russia literally invading Ukraine made this into, a much, much larger problem. You guys know this. Even liberals know this.
That seems like a fair take.
Okay.
I don't know.
What is the old saying? If there's 2 Nazis at a 10-person table, that means there's 10 Nazis.
He totally fucked that up. It's if there's 11 people at a table and 1 Nazi sits down, how many Nazis do you have? 12.
It's not guilt by association, you f***ing idiot. There are certain
it is literally
certain
guilt by
levels where
association.
you are guilty by association.
Well, if that's where the bar is, then I guess every other country in Europe is now a Nazi country. This is ridiculous. Let's move on. Part 5. Conspiracy theory? Question mark? The last thing I want to look at is how Hasan approaches the sniper killings in the Euromaidan protests. It's currently understood that a good number of the deaths in 2014 were by snipers who were stationed in buildings out of the media's sight. The popular belief is that anti-government protesters were shot by riot police snipers under the pro-Russian government of Viktor Yanukovych. However, some people have claimed to have evidence that the attacks were really coordinated by the right sector. This claim is largely based on a leaked phone call between an Estonian diplomat and the EU foreign policy chief, and sure enough, this is the same evidence that Hasan gives us.
Okay, big if
there
true.
There are allegations that the sniper fire might have been done
by...
by...
good morning. How's it going, Demon?
Right sector and its co-conspirators, which, by the way, is not an insane take at all. You have to be completely out of your mind to conclusively say, and by the way, this is not from Russia Today. The footage they're saying is from Russia Today, but it doesn't even matter.
We're checking out this video, LonerBox versus Hasan, and then we're going to get on to some housing crisis content. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to see if I'm going to try to combine it with some art.
Okay.
Maybe?
Yeah, here. This is the call from, here. Ukraine crisis. Bugged call reveals conspiracy theory about Kyiv's snipers. The Estonian foreign minister, Urmas Pate, calls EU's Cathy Ashton about the claim that provocateurs were behind the Maidan killers. The 11-minute conversation was posted on YouTube. It is the second time in a month. The telephone calls between Western diplomats discussing Ukraine have been bugged. Okay.
Posted on YouTube. Honestly, what a crazy era we live in. That like high-level diplomatic conversations are just being posted to YouTube. Amazing.
Article Hasan brought up. In it, the Estonian minister mentions a doctor called Olga who claims to have witnessed snipers shooting at both the police and protesters. To which Ashton replies, "That's interesting. Gosh." In the article, they quote the minister saying that the snipers were from the new coalition, but what I don't see is any mention of the right sector. Now, this entire phone call is available on YouTube.
Right.
How many
like you can go so far, but it's already pretty flimsy, so you can't go further than what you've already got.
times do you think they mentioned the right sector?
12.
I'm giving it away. The answer is none. They don't mention them, nor do they make any mention of the far right.
Right, of course.
The claim that the snipers were from the right sector did not come from an Estonian minister or from Olga. It came from the Russian foreign minister.
Oh no. No, Hasan, why'd you do it? No. This is why, like, sometimes you can make a whole video just like checking up on other sources that people mentioned and be like, wait, is that what it really said? Do you remember that correctly?
Says he has huge amounts of evidence, but can't seem to point to anything other than that phone call, which was released 3 days prior. This is Hasan,
makes it onto YouTube.
however accidentally, pushing a Kremlin conspiracy theory.
Oops.
And I know
Oopsie
he
daisy.
does say it's just an allegation, but he doesn't really hide the fact that it's an allegation he wants to believe.
Right.
So even when there is at least like intercepted phone calls that show, okay, intercepted phone calls that literally show that the right sector, which and the CIA involved, CIA trained right-wing operatives in Ukraine could have perhaps engaged in such a violent action. Okay.
It's leaning in pretty hard.
When there's a likelihood that is definitely a theory, okay, a very realistic theory, considering they had a lot to gain from this, considering the historical precedent of such actions.
Like, no. With the evidence we currently have, it's not a very realistic theory. It's a Russian minister adding his own spice to a statement that was made to an Estonian politician.
Yikes.
Allegedly, by someone called Olga.
And makes it onto YouTube. That's very curious, very sussy.
The way this seems credible is because it fits that old story of CIA-backed fascists destabilizing the government. But once again, this is not the Cold War, and even if it were, you still couldn't just apply this blanket rule to each situation without looking at the details.
And also, it might be the Cold War if we're talking about America. It seems like it's in a cold civil war right now. Getting hotter.
For example, even if I go to this Jacobin article, the CIA training program Hasan is talking about didn't start until 2015. 1 year after the sniper attacks. Like, none of this fits. However many examples you have of coups that were done by CIA-backed fascists, you can't apply this to Ukraine. And I don't think Hasan believes the Maidan Revolution was a United States coup, but when we have sentences like this talking about CIA-trained right-wing operatives and considering the historical precedent, it's all a bit
squishy.
I mean, how many mistakes can you make in one sentence? The phone call didn't show right sector involvement. The right-wing operatives were not CIA trained. I don't know exactly how much they had to gain from it, given that their leader stepped down in 2015, declaring that the right sector was no longer needed. And their electoral performance has been pretty miserable ever since.
Massive L.
But this is the amount of twisting you need to do if you want that historical precedent to fit.
Right.
Like, if you remove the word Ukraine from this statement and ask someone to guess what country Hasan is talking about, they'd be more accurate if they said something like Chile, Nicaragua, or El Salvador. We're so far removed now that we're grabbing narratives from a different continent and in a different century.
Time period, yeah.
It's like the world has thrown Hasan a football and he's trying to eat it.
Man, your metaphors are bad.
I'm sorry. Conclusion. I guess this is usually the part where I play Eric Satie in the background and say some condescending bullshit about how we all get it wrong sometimes, but I won't do that. As I was writing this, I noticed that Hasan had just posted this on Twitter, and I thought it was quite apt. It's true. We probably do agree on most things, and I hope you don't think I'm only doing this for the engagement.
Sorry, I'm just gonna read this. Don't worry, all your leftist Patreons are gonna pop off once you fire off the next viral. Hasan is a bad leftist because he's rich, Lamau tweet. As someone who's been getting death threats from the right for the past 10 years, nothing kills me more than the aesthetic leftist jumping down my throat every time I do anything. We agree on 99% and y'all choose to rip me for some quick engagement. It's so sad. I know everyone will now claim I'm just whining all the time, and I am very fortunate, but there's a reason why we're seen as unapproachable, cringe, woke, scold psychos by every normal person on the planet. It's funny, like the second one about leftists jumping down on him, LonerBox very much preempts this at the beginning, like is very consciously aware that he doesn't want to be leaning into this too much, just trying to further the discussion and just like point out like, hey, his sourcing was bad. His quotes were kind of wrong.
Although I do like the engagement, like and subscribe and Patreon, I did consider going for this very ultra-polite approach, but I did feel a bit infantilizing. In any case, I've heard you've become numb to the criticism.
Hasan's not polite.
I've gotten numb to the criticism. Like it's not. As a matter of fact, I seek it out now.
But I'd like to believe that you're not numb to the point where you can't see where you've gone wrong. So I really hope you have gained something from that. And if you haven't, that's fine.
Seems legit.
I was going to say something mean at the end, but I decided not to. So take care.
Okay. Well done, LonerBox. Well done. Go check out LonerBox. He streams on Twitch. Very interesting. Totally worth your time. Just gonna pull up his. Yeah, it is. It is that. Yeah, go check out LonerBox. So we're going on to the next segment, but I thought like an interesting little piece in between. There's a video out by Brian David Gilbert, who, if you don't know, is one of the more sane people on YouTube. And so we're going to watch his video. It's already at 300,000 views. Crazy. There's a rock in my house. Let's see what it's about.
There is a little rock that hangs out in my house, and I looked at it one day and I thought it was neat, but the rock became much needier than I had thought. And now I have to look at the rock in order to live, and the rock tells me things that I ought to do, and it makes me think the things I am are not so good, but the things that I am are all the things I'll be. And I'd like to stop looking at the rock so much, because when I look at the rock, then I want to scream, and I'm beginning to think that the rock is bad for me, but I've tied myself inexorably to this rock, so I guess I will be treating myself bad for now. And the rock tells me that if I stop looking at it, then I will stop existing and there's no more me. And I think the rock is lying, but I really can't be sure, because I've never tried to stop looking at the rock. So I'll keep myself attached to the rock I have, and I'll look at the rock as much as it wants me to look. And in the moment that I decide to stop looking at the rock, I will feel extremely bad for choosing to do other things.
I think this is a song about cell phone usage. Okay. That was fun. That was very sweet. Been feeling kind of rough, so I made this. Nice. Nice. Puggers. Okay. On to the next part of the show. So this is a really interesting clip. We're going to dig into it pretty hard. Mostly because it speaks to something a lot of Canadians are going through right now. We got a housing crisis going on in Canada. And this member of parliament, what's his name? He's going to have some pretty interesting words. Daniel Blakey. So let's see who this guy is. He's NDP. He's 38. From Manitoba. Wow, he's a Western boy. No shot. Okay. So we're going to listen to this Western boy tell us about the Canadian housing crisis.
To either buy their own home or rent an affordable home.
Sorry, just going to fix the audio. Make sure y'all can hear it okay.
Or in the case of Peggy, trying to stay. Canadians that are trying to either buy their own home or rent an affordable home, or in the case of Peggy, trying to stay in an affordable home, are all getting kicked in the teeth. And they're getting kicked in the teeth because the market has been set up not so that they can be competing with families in like situations with similar incomes, but so that Canadians that want to find their way into a home are having to compete or take on deep-pocketed corporate investors. And that's what's structurally wrong with the Canadian housing market. There are people out there that'll...
It is you and your parents against like BlackRock, massive investment firms. This is not going to go well.
Tell you different things about that. The Liberals so far have only been willing to take action in respect of foreign buyers, but we know they only represent about 5% of the market. Conservatives will tell you it's government spending, it's the Bank of Canada, it's anything that they can say that will cause people to look away from the real problem, which is giant corporate profits that have been made by turning what should be a market that's about people getting their family home into an asset class to make money on.
Yeah, like houses are no longer a place to live. They're the quickest way to grow your money. It's very perverse.
And that's not something that's happened simply by accident. That's something, if you look at the history of real estate investment trusts, what you'll see is they started taking off in 1996, which, as it happens, was right after the Liberals canceled the National Housing Strategy. And they've been gaining steam since then. It doesn't serve Canadians' interest to only look at the last 2 years and what's been happening in the housing market over the last 2 years during extraordinary times. The trend line for Canadians getting pushed out of affordable homes starts much earlier than that. Yep. And it spans across Liberal and Conservative governments alike.
It's been going on for decades.
Who have not been doing enough on the supply side, but have also fostered a culture in the tax code that rewards companies for doing exactly what's happening to Peggy.
Exactly. If you want to find out like where the power lies, just go to the tax code. You're going to see which interests have been taken care of, and whether it's a liberal or conservative. This is the rot of neoliberalism. You're selling out the thing that generates markets in a country, the middle class, and you're selling it out for political, just for political, how do you say, convenience, and to make corporate overlords happy. Like Canada's been bent over by corporate global like horrible organizations for many years.
Coming in and buying affordable buildings with affordable rents, rent-evicting the tenants, and jacking up the rents. They've done that through the tax code because if you're part of a real estate investment trust, you don't have to pay any corporate tax on your profits. As long as you're paying out the money that comes in to individual investors, they just pay tax as individuals, whereas normally a company would first pay corporate income tax on its profits and then pay its dividends out of what remains.
So they found a way to structure tax-free income.
Way that Liberal and Conservative governments alike have encouraged this broken culture in the housing market has been by not renewing the operating grants that were tied to many affordable buildings, whether they're co-op housing or nonprofit housing across the country. There was federal operating money to make those units affordable, better than affordable, actually rent geared to income, which is the gold standard for affordable housing, ensuring that tenants aren't paying a disproportionate amount of their income on rent. So
there's like this old rule that like if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, it's probably like not good financially. And that comes from an era when the assumption was you had someone at home to take care of domestic affairs. Like you had a stay-at-home wife. So if you're spending more than 30% and you don't have a husband or a wife or something other, like a partner, then yeah.
Because those operating grants were tied to the mortgages and they were 40 or 50-year mortgages, those mortgages began to expire around the end of the Harper government's term.
Right.
They said that they would not renew those operating grants.
Massive.
The Liberals ran on a commitment to save them and then didn't do it.
Amazing. Classic. Just like fucking libs. You know, campaign on the left and govern from the right. Oh, we'll do the thing that you want, and then they do an about face and pull the rug. Well, what? Were you really going to vote for conservative?
We have buildings across the country that traditionally have had federal operating money to ensure that they could provide affordable rents to their tenants that have been told by Conservative and then a Liberal government, we will not renew your funding.
Yeah.
And what's that meant is that they either have to jack up the rents themselves,
right,
or they have to sell their building. And that makes them a plump target for real estate investment trusts that see a building that can no longer sustain itself, They have the cash on hand, so they can come in, they can outbid all of.
This is literally government selling out people for corporate profits. It's a really stark story he's telling here.
Of the nonprofit associations with experience in housing that would love to acquire buildings like these and continue on a nonprofit affordable model, but they get beat to the punch by real estate investment trusts that have more money on hand and can bid higher. So this is a
life, let's say ups and downs. I mean, we're in year 3 of the pandemic. I'm feeling it. But there's a show coming up this Sunday, so I think that'll be fun and will lift my spirits. Should be, it might even be live streamed. I'll see what the details are on that. I'm not going to live stream it. I'm just going to focus on being in the space. But I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not taking the summer off. I'm doing schoolwork and Twitch and real work and trying to get slam poetry off the ground and also a music video. So I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. But how are things with you, Yikes Factory? You enjoying the stream?
Problem that has been brewing for a long time. It's one that's coming home to roost. The pandemic obviously made it worse.
Nice.
We can talk about some of the reasons why that is, but I think politicians and other parties are kidding themselves if they think that it was just government spending during the pandemic that has led to this crisis in the housing market. It has been building up for a long time.
This is the part I find most interesting. Why has it taken so long for a politician to say this? Like, we've all been saying this. This is like a really common kitchen table topic. And yet he's saying what we've all been thinking.
It is now acute, and we need to do something to cool off the market and save what we can of these affordable units. We're being told by experts that for every 1 unit of affordable housing that we build in Canada today, we're losing 15.
Yeah, that's insane to me. That scares the ever-living F out of me. Look, the idea that we can't even catch up. Like, the ball's already rolling, just like with climate change. Like, we're not even trying anymore.
That's not sustainable, and it's not even a drop in the bucket in terms of new supply combating the loss of supply. And real estate investment trusts and other giant corporate landlords are at the root of that problem. We need governments to address that problem if we're actually going to maintain affordable housing.
Like, it's literally what we have government for, is to try to represent the interests of people. We're very quickly sliding into a neo-feudalistic state where, you know, it's not so much the company town, it's the company country at this point. Like, corporations are getting so friggin' strong. So what are we doing here? What are leftists doing?
For Canadians. So that's why we're here today, to announce some concrete measures. Jenny talked already about having a moratorium on real estate investment trusts and corporate landlords acquiring affordable buildings.
Yeah, kick them out.
We've talked about making a fund available so that those nonprofit experts in housing can actually acquire those buildings and run.
It's a big issue in Montreal too.
Run them the way we need them to be run in order to maintain affordable housing. And I want to add to that list, getting rid of the preferential tax treatment for real estate investment trusts that make them an even more attractive investment opportunity.
That will never happen. And that's the part that drives me the most. Like, these corporate, like, leeches, they make like 20%, you know, growth per year, and they get like tax breaks. You know, if you're rich, your taxes are easier. It just boggles the brain.
And attract more capital into a mechanism that is breaking our housing market. We shouldn't be rewarding investors for doing something that makes it harder for Canadians to afford a home. And yet, that continues. So this is a package of 3 things that we think can help preserve more affordable units, create more affordable units, and stop rewarding big investors that are making money by pushing Canadians out of homes that they can afford to essentially fend for themselves. Even more.
Okay, so that's fun. Here is something that went viral, man, a year ago. This is a year old, but watch this. This is gut-wrenching to watch. Where have house prices risen the most since the year 2000? So Canada sitting at 10, it's by percentage. Yeah, incredible. 50, 60%. In Canada, we're 30%. Oh my god. Oh my god. We're heading up to the financial collapse. 2008's coming up soon. Boom. Here comes the financial collapse. Oh, but that didn't really slow things. We're starting to stabilize. Drops. Really drops in Spain and America. But Canada, why is Canada doing so hot? What's going on in Canada? Canada takes first place. Oh shit. Canada do be popping off. What the fuck is going wrong with our country? What is happening? What is going on? What the hell does this number mean? How can something double in price per year? More than double in price per year. How is that possible? I don't understand this number. Like, when I tried to dip my toes into economics, we're just going to play that again because it's hard to watch. When I started to get my toes into economics, one thing that really stuck with me, this is from the book by Piketty, Capital in the 21st Century. He talked about how like 3% is a huge amount of growth for anything because of the way that, you know, it accumulates. And that countries trying to push for growth at 2 to 3% and even higher is like ahistorical. It's never really been the case that countries grew this fast or this rapidly. And so when I'm looking at housing prices growing at over 100%, is that really supposed to be per year? Like, is that for real? Am I just don't understand math for some reason? Probably just don't understand math. But look at this. What is going on in Canada? Like, this is not because like we live in like a harsh environment. Who wants to, besides, you know, having healthcare and not forcing women to give birth against their will, why would you move to Canada? We got geese. We have freedom convoy people. We have too much freedom, everybody. So, yeah, this is really evocative. I don't know what the hell is going on. There was also an article that dug into this a bit further. I wanted to take a look. And there's also this chart. I didn't totally understand it, though. Federally assisted affordable housing units by program. Okay, so I think this is him describing how there's like a big fund and it basically dried up, and both liberal and conservative governments didn't renew it. We use logical math. Oh, okay. If this, then that. So yeah, and the gray is nonprofit and co-op, and you see there's a huge glut of it from the 80s all the way until the early 90s, and then boom, the tap turns off. And then the National Housing Strategy starts to pick up after 2008. Measurement, rather. I only like irrational math. Give me irrational numbers. And invisible stats. Divide by 0, everybody. Okay, so we're moving on. I don't know how much more I can talk about this without just getting kind of annoyed and upset. I think there was one article worth digging into. What did I do with it? Maybe it's gone. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is from the Thai. Why can't we build like it's the 70s? Between 1973 and 1994, Canada built 16,000 affordable homes a year. Why can't we do that now? So between 1994 and 2016, that number dropped to just 1,500 homes a year. That's freaking useless. Oh, let's put some music on. Oh, that's loud. Let's drop that. Okay. After over two decades of rising home prices and growing homelessness, in 2017, the federal government finally announced it was getting back into housing, promising to spend $40 billion over the next decade. So that must be that chart that we just had open. But the pace of building is underwhelming compared to what was done in the past. In the latest federal budget, the government promised 16,000 affordable homes over the next 5 years. That figure is essentially what we used to do in 1 year, said Brian Clifford, a program manager at the Community Housing Transformation Center. Using historical data from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, Clifford shows how much federal money Canada used to spend, compared with an abrupt policy shift in the mid-90s that emphasized individual homeownership instead of funding affordable housing. Hey, good morning, Demand Better. How you doing today? We're about halfway through the stream, checking out the housing crisis. Might dip our toes into Hippy Dippy before getting on to some live music and poetry. Can you believe it? Wow, wowee. I got a show tomorrow. I gotta prepare. During the 70s and 80s, nonprofit and co-op housing boom, Canada's historic affordable housing stock also included roughly 200,000 units of public housing developed between 1964 and 1978. Ooh, I want me some of that sweet, sweet public housing. Why can't I have it? Then there were various incentive programs to build rental apartment buildings between 1975 and 1984. The Canada Rental Supply encouraged the construction of 382,000 units. Let's bring up chat. In the 1980s, that shifted to as incentive programs ended and developers turned to building more lucrative condo projects. Sound familiar? Gentrification? Hey, is there a part of town that you love that has been absolutely demolished by corporate interests? This is why. This is why, everybody. Yay. Yay. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I'm doing great. Just put out a video yesterday on how conservatives will raise people's taxes to give tax cuts to the rich. Nice. Yeah. You get some. You get some. I hope it pops off. The picture that emerges is stunning. Even Brian Mulroney's 1980s conservative government, the era of free market enthusiasts, Reagan and Thatcher, spent more on affordable housing than the 90s liberal headed by Chrétien. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, absolutely. I think housing isn't even a purely left-wing. You could come at this from a right-wing angle, which would be, how would you do this? I think you would have to come up from an individual autonomy. You came at it from like free market, then right-wing ideology would be like, free market good, capitalists should be able to earn as much capital as possible. But if you came at it from like individual rights are sacrosanct, above and beyond corporate interests, that the point of a nation is to defend an individual's liberty, then you could probably speak to conservatives saying, hey, this is a problem that we all face. You know, don't you hate corporate? Where's your populism? Let's go. Surely we can unite with right-wing populists. I'm sure that will go fine. Oh, man. Okay. To Clifford, the numbers say one thing: the federal government has to spend more, much more, to build and acquire affordable housing. While the National Housing Strategy has been heralded as a welcome first step in the federal government's return to housing, many experts have said the amount of federal funding being devoted to the problem falls far short. Quote, what this indicates to me is we've normalized neoliberalism, Clifford said, referring to the term for political ideology that emphasizes reducing government spending, deregulation, and relying on free market capitalism, which I do believe, like there was a study coming out essentially saying this is bad and leads to wealth and income inequality. Let's see if I can actually pull that right. I'll pull it up in the background maybe. Okay. So, yeah, it's hard to read and search at the same time. Although Mulroney's conservative government, oh, so this is the chart we were looking at earlier. There's the massive drop off from like, well, 35,000 down to 3,500. Yeah, 10 to 1, order of magnitude. Cons should care about this crisis too, but they're primed to reject many of the solutions. Yeah, primed by the media. Just tell them they're listening to fake news. And listen to independent leftists like you or I. Although Mulroney's conservative government still spent on housing, Clifford said it's important to understand the changes the conservatives made to housing programs in the 80s. Instead of continuing to fund mixed income projects like housing co-ops, the government reformed housing programs to target lower income people. This is a problem later on down the road, where you see that a lot of these buildings are in trouble because the rents are not sufficient to cover the cost of maintaining the building, Clifford said. And you see that the mixed income buildings built under the program from 73 to the mid-80s, those have been those that fared much better in subsequent years. It's a bit of a weird quote. There have been those, or those have been the ones. Okay, thanks. It's hard for me to tell. Oh my god, you're right. Sorry. There you go. I'm a dummy. Okay. You see mixed income buildings Yeah, weird sentence. Starting in the 90s, a new affordable housing strategy was adopted. Quote, the big players like CMHC, the big banks, and the real estate sector, they developed a new affordable housing policy, which essentially facilitated individuals to get cheap mortgages to purchase homes and to facilitate wider home ownership. After several decades of dramatically underfunding affordable housing while encouraging cheap credit and incentive programs for home ownership, Canada's current high housing prices and long affordable housing waitlists are entirely predictable, Clifford said. I think people have been like sounding the alarm for so long. Yeah, thanks for that tip. It's not like the federal government can just turn the clock back to 1974. Land prices are much higher now compared to the decades when co-ops were built across East Vancouver and Burnaby. If you could go back, you would require just billions and billions of dollars of investment to really make up for the kind of unit counts as well. Where should the federal government go to find extra money for new affordable housing? A good place to start is taxing profits made by real estate investors. Yeah, sure. Good idea, Clifford. He said the federal government's plan to review housing as an asset class, announced in the 2022 budget, is a good idea. Good. The review will include potential changes to the tax treatment of large corporate players that invest in residential real estate. Good. The budget also proposed taxing profits from property flipping more fully and fairly. Yeah, it shouldn't be like a full-time job just to like buy houses and flip them. It's fucking crazy. Clifford hopes his research will help illustrate the huge gap. Canadians don't need to rely on the government. What's important is activism, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so there you go, everybody. Maybe things will get better. This is a terrifying chart. Okay, so I was thinking of checking out the Hippy Dippy just for a little wee bit. Give me a chance just to take a breather and get ready for the next segment of music and poetry. Ooh. So yeah, let's go check that out. I heard it was a very spicy, super spicy. There's a bunch of drama and fallout on Twitter, people beefing and whatever. And we got some pretty big names here. We got Vaush, we've got Dylan Burns, of course. We got Stardust and I'm Really Important. We got Sonzol and this guy, he's like a far-right Christian dude. I can't remember. I know that Keffels dropped out because there's someone who was friends with, I don't know, some neo-Nazi or whatever. You know, just a couple degrees of separation nowadays. So we're gonna check this out, and I'm gonna get ready for the next segment, which should be a bit more exciting and fun. So let's check it out. I'll just kill the tunes.
Okay, chat, you guys ready for Hippy Dippy Roundtable?
Hippy Dippy.
Also, thank you guys for all the gifted subs, and thanks everybody who's playing the game. The scanning the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner, playing to level 3-1 and Ace Defender. Every single time you play the game, get to that level. It actually helps the channel out, and specifically helps us film the documentary because we're able to take the money we make from the sponsorship and put it straight into the documentary. I appreciate it. And thanks again for all the donation subs and everything. Anyway, let's get this thing started. First ever Hippy Dippy, hosted by someone else. It's gonna feel a little dirty, kind of like cheating on your wife. Let's see how it goes.
Lasting recovery period usually follows because it takes a longer time to heal.
Gotcha. Hello.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
What? Dank mic. I've got to do a mic check on Dylan.
Oh no, is my mic that bad?
Pretty dank.
It's pretty dank.
Right now it's not. You were good for a sec.
Okay,
I mean, it
that's
was
better.
just the.
It
when
was
you
the
said,
initial
hey.
boost. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Message me if you need me. Vosh has got admin. Take care.
Okie dokie.
Fantastic. So my mic's okay, guys?
Yep. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. We're a whole 7 minutes over. We're going to have to catch up on the back end. Is everyone here and ready? Everyone looks ready.
Yeah, I was born ready, baby.
Yep. Wonderful. All right. Well, this fine evening, or whatever the hell time it is for Dylan right now, we're having a special edition of the Hippy Dippy Roundtable, one in which the host is, in fact, myself and not Dylan. The rules will remain the same. If I talk, do not talk over me. I will do my best to moderate conversations between all of you. Everyone is going to get their intro and their outro. I value expediency and brevity. in all your points, because that's a virtue I don't possess. But when everyone exhibits it, it makes these conversations go along way smoother. So with that
Sorry, I
being
didn't start
said,
it
I
after
say
the tech support.
that we jump right into it. The very first question, the question's posed by Dylan. I am but, the orator of his will. The first question, is Twitch politics too toxic?
Yes.
Very loaded. Sure much discourse is to follow. I'll be going left to right from my end. Andrew, with the top, please give us your intro.
Yeah, so you want me to introduce myself, all that jazz, and then jump into the topic? Is that how that goes?
Yeah, give us, how you doing? How are you? And give us your opening on that subject.
Okay.
Before we
my name is Andrew.
Get into it, make sure to follow or subscribe, support the channel. Could use your support. There should be some good content coming down the line. Trying to keep to a better schedule. And yeah, I'm always gonna be pushing the channel forward. So help me do it. Yeah, let's go.
To eat. So we saw quite a bit of that. Destiny got devoured by the left. Even Vosh at a point got devoured by the left for not adequately.
Is this an introduction?
Kissing the ass of the transgender community on Twitch. I'm sorry, that was Destiny. Vosh, you said something else, a slur or something, right? They got mad at you for that. But whatever the fuck it is, you guys are eating each other, which is good for us. So no, I don't think that the space is too toxic. I think that there's just too many fucking leftists on it. And if you guys don't have an enemy, eat each other. Much to makes me happy, but that's my take on it.
All right, thank you very much. Chud Logic, take it away.
If anything, it's not toxic enough. Let's be real here.
Wait, that's Chud Logic? That's the first time I've seen him like in avatar form.
Twitch is one of the most sanitized spaces online these days, especially with the introduction of the hateful conduct and harassment policy.
Sure.
You get banned for very minimal efforts now, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. I think that Twitch politics is as toxic as you want it to be. You can either engage in like the debates and the drama and shit like that, or you can't, and you can go and do your own thing, and that's up to you. So Twitch politics really is as toxic as you want it to be, to your own standards, and that's it really.
Okay. Dylan, for the first time, a participant, not a host. Please take it away.
I'd like to thank Vosh for giving me my shot on the big show. As an up-and-coming streamer, it means a lot to me, and
nice.
I'll try to do my best to not fumble the ball.
Nice.
As to the question of if Twitch politics
that's kind of funny.
is too toxic, I guess it depends on what you mean by toxic, right?
Let me drop.
For me, toxicity is like a few things. It's how you engage with others and like the type of content you put out, right? I think the type of content Twitch politics put out is really, really, really cool. But I also feel that a lot of times when the news cycle is dry and there isn't a lot to talk about, or if there is stuff to talk about, it isn't the stuff that say that maybe as a Twitch politics streamer you're not an expert in, that people will go digging for what they can to make ends meet, which is perfectly reasonable. Other communities do this as well, but I think a lot of times it means that we'll take certain dramas that don't really need as much attention as it needs, or isn't that entertaining actually, or isn't really worth it, and then we'll grab onto it, and that'll be the content for the week. And even if maybe it should have produced content for 1 day or 2 days, it can keep going, right? I think this
is the part that I struggle with, is that if you like, niche is kind of dead. It's all about following the trend, and sometimes you just don't care about whatever's big in the news at the time, or you don't have a lot of thoughts on it, but like you'll still go for it because that's kind of just where the economy is, or the market is for this sort of stuff.
Goes into the second topic a little bit. As for the other thing I wanted to talk about,
I think
that sometimes Twitch politics talks about issues that I don't think is really, and everybody can make their own content, but this is my personal opinion. I'm not going to tell anybody what they should and shouldn't do, but I feel like a lot of times the type of content and like conversations we engage with are just not necessary. I would say there's, like, for example, when we have like debates about incest or pedophilia or the N-word, we don't do it on a constant basis, but this is the stuff a lot of times that gets attention. And I feel like a lot of times it's kind of a race to the bottom for what type of conversations we can have, because when you have these conversations, people do turn their head, but it's kind of like, paying to watch the farmer fuck the local goat. People will watch it. It'll be like a kind of like a clown show for a little bit. We're not going to build community over it. And when people talk about that show, they're not going to talk about the 99% of conversations.
How did I miss that? Bro, how did I miss that? I'm so sorry, Nikolai. Vouch's securitist verbosity has indubitably exhausted my mental capacity. How did I miss that? That's fucking hilarious. Sent a message that it's being held for review because I mentioned 2 subreddits.
And all this other stuff, but all they remembered was at this union event, there was somebody who went on and started complaining about Hasan at an event where they were supposed to be talking about labor organizing, and that becomes what everybody remembers because it was not a productive thing to do. It was something that was probably a little toxic to do. Okay, I'll end it up to be nice on a friendly moderator.
Yeah, why don't you just describe the subreddits?
I'm really important. Howdy.
Hey, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to talk about everybody's favorite space. I'm with Judd. I don't think the space is toxic enough. I think it's our bread and butter here. What I don't like is the mass reporting. I think people trying to deplatform each other or crying about someone else's content and taking action and trying to get them removed is some bullshit. And I think as far as it not being toxic enough, just look at no further than Vosh not restreaming here. He's perfectly capable of, but I'm guessing, I haven't talked to Vosh about it, but I'm guessing that Twitch is just too soft and he feels that he can't say everything he wants to say on here. So I don't know if he'll have a chance to weigh in on that, but I'm glad people are moving over to YouTube because I think the chat over there is freer and I have to check more and more what I say.
It's definitely less hinge
in these Twitch channels. So I think the space is soft and people need to get thicker skin.
Wow. Spoken like a true white boy.
Rhizome, hit us up.
Yeah, I mean, I largely agree with IRI. I think that the complaints that people have about the space being toxic are largely dealt with tools on the platform. Like hate raids can be dealt with just putting your chat in sub only mode, or getting harassment on Twitter can just be down to muting notifications of a certain kind. There are usually tools that are built in to deal with whatever quote unquote toxicity people are dealing with. And when it comes to toxicity, I think it needs to contribute to some sort of real world outcomes that are negatively impacting people. And I just don't think that the conversations that we're having in the space are going to contribute to that unless you think that a bunch of people who find ironic misogyny funny will actually contribute to negative outcomes with their the way that they vote or the way they engage with the world. So for me, that just doesn't feel like a realistic enough thing to look at when it comes to where the potential harm lies in the space or where the potential toxicity lies. And I think that ultimately it's just down to people who are looking for Twitch to kind of protect them from worldviews that they don't like. In the case of Sanzal, right, he had Gayfest try to take down his channel with the quote that he doesn't even care how tenuous the link is for the reason that they're reporting it. It's just that they view Sanzal as a threat. He's this Nazi dude, and that's it. He needs to go down. So I think that that's potentially more harmful than anything happening on the platform, especially when it's just somebody posting spicy memes on Twitter.
Really?
All right, thank you.
Wait, what do you think?
Speaking of the man himself, Sanzal.
Deplatforming's the big thing?
So for me, I think that everybody's definition of toxic is going to be relative, right? I think that what a lot of people see as just being kind of aggressive or maybe confrontational to other people is just pure toxicity, just the worst thing ever. And
that is the definition of toxicity. It's just being kind of overly aggressive, and I guess that can also be true for deplatforming.
And or thrown off of the platform. I think that I don't know if I would say that we need more toxicity in this space. I think that we do need more healthy conflict, right? People able to actually engage with each other, maybe even in a
that's what I want to do,
way, without losing their fucking minds about it.
That's what I want.
My line is, right? If people are actually going to go out of their way to create mass
He's the most
campaigns,
unhinged.
mass flagging campaigns, taking their harassment off the platform of Twitch to smaller communities on Twitter or in Discord groups that are
passive aggressive.
It
can be super toxic.
Harass people.
Yeah, absolutely. Passive aggressiveness drives me fucking nuts, and so does people who just shout over you. Just okay, I get it. You just wanna howl like a baboon.
That's what I would consider toxic. And does Twitch have that? Yes, in some smaller communities there is that, but by and large, I don't think that Twitch politics is nearly too toxic to engage in now.
Okay, so maybe.
Alrighty.
I mean, I got my toes dipped into the Hippy Dippy roundtable, and I was like, "Whoa, boy!"
And to cap it off, Stardust.
So much yelling.
Yeah. So back to what Sansa was saying, it seems that we all have very different opinions of of different types of toxicity. I would say Twitch politics is toxic, but not in the way that other communities are online, and not in the way that you would expect. As somebody who engages with other communities online, they engage in a different type of toxicity. The way that Twitch politics is uniquely toxic is in the cry bullying, tone policing, talking down way. It's toxic in what feels very insidious. If you think you've taken all precautions to not offend someone, someone's offended. If you make your channel decisions yourself, somebody's mad that you didn't consult them first. If you talk to certain people.
I think that's the part that drives me the most nuts. You'll give an answer that's 80% complete, and you don't include the other 20% for reasons like time or relevance, and then someone jumps down your throat for that other 20%. Well, why didn't you mean this? And it's oh, kill me.
In a somewhat civil tone. people accuse you of being a fascist and a Nazi. It doesn't matter if you're like part of a marginalized group or not. I gotta say, dude, it's some fucking bullshit. I agree with IRI. I think that people maybe, it's so weird because I consider that toxicity, but I think people are a little bit too soft here. How are you going to engage with other people and share ideas and have a conversation if I'm not even allowed to talk to somebody without consulting 3 people before? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, in response to Andrew did make a decent point about the left eating itself. However, I would also say the left and the right are very polarized right now, and we can definitely see the right eating itself as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Come on.
All right. With everyone's opening statements put forward, we'll now move to general discussion on the topic, to whatever disagreements we have. Again, if I speak, do not speak over me, and try to be expedient when making your points with others, because it makes everything move along much faster. If you want to speak and can't get a word in, put your hand up. I'll try to keep an eye out for it. Go ahead.
Where did the disagreements really lie there? That's my first question.
Well, I mean, I've got something to throw in there. I've actually got an example of toxicity we can maybe discuss that happened recently. So obviously, Big Papa Fascist and Dylan had a conversation. At a certain point, Rhizom interjected to make some points, apparently, of his own accord. However, it transpired later that Dylan had actually put Rhizom up to it. And he didn't clarify that. His chat thought Rhizom was a dickhead, but it was Dylan's doing that happened. And I don't think Big Papa Fascist knew that was the case either. So maybe we can clear that up now.
Oh, well, gee, I'm so shocked. You're telling me that a leftist set me up. I'm so shocked. You're telling me that I wasn't supposed to know that if I went on Dylan's channel, even if I had a nice conversation with him, that there wouldn't be a setup? Well, I mean, you must be talking to the wrong guy, because that's just how it works.
I think Rhizom feels set up too.
Dylan, go ahead.
So I was a while ago, you know, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fucking victim, right? But a while ago, a Big Papa Fascist, you know, said something about my suicide attempt being fake, and he said that, you know, that I'm not, like, I faked my homosexuality, or I faked my my sexuality or whatever, right? And so I messaged Rhizom while I was talking to Big Papa Fascist, trying to figure out, like, how the fuck do I actually work this into the conversation, because I was being really
you just ask, and you don't be like a passive aggressive wuss about it. That's how you work it.
Hold on, let Dylan continue.
I was having a very polite conversation with you back and forth, Big Papa Fascist. It's kind of hard to transition from, hey, we're talking about the space, to, hey, remember that time you accused me of faking my suicide attempt? You know, it's kind of like a hard transition to make in a conversation, right? Like, it's not like
just be honest. You wanted the drama. Just be fucking honest about it, mate. Why are you fucking doing this? Just be honest.
Let Dylan finish the point, and then you can all interject.
Look, you can say it was for the drama or because I wanted to bring it up. I think you can say that I thought the conversation was boring and I kind of wanted to talk about that, but I also didn't want it because I didn't know how to make the transition in the conversation too. Yeah, it was 2 things.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second. Go ahead.
Wait, to make sure. Andrew, did you want to follow that?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's very typical, right? Most leftists are very passive-aggressive and confrontation avoidant. Not all of them, like Chud Logic there, who eats big pulp of fishes, he's not confrontation avoidant. So you can kind of give the blue-haired guy that, right? But a lot of these guys, they're pretty confrontation avoidant. They don't really want to, go at you on various issues, especially since oftentimes they get destroyed on those issues and they look stupid. It's far easier for them to farm drama than actually discuss political issues or their political takes on things, especially if you've already been in debates with them and just absolutely destroyed them. They get upset by that type of thing. So it's almost like revenge porn for leftists, right? And just farm up some drama, or we'll dogpile this guy, or whatever they can do. It's not like there's tons of us in this space, right? So it doesn't shock me. I did want to go and have just a good faith conversation. He should just ask me about it. I would have just told him.
And Chud Logic, did you want to add to this as well before Dylan gets another go?
One quick thing I want to clarify. Have we decided whether the Down syndrome Dylan thing is funny or not?
It's funny.
Any other?
Dylan.
What is this?
I feel like, Vosh, I feel like we should get context.
Yeah, I need a little bit of context on Down syndrome Dylan
a
thing.
meme?
Right, so I'd like to ask that. Additionally, I want to go to Dylan now, and then after that, IRI. Dylan, before we continue, if this is what we're going to be talking about, would you mind filling us in on any information the audience might not have on this particular subject?
So me and Big Papa Fascist follows me on Twitter, and every once in a while, because he doesn't like me, he'll or I guess the feelings mutual a little bit. And he'll retweet me, or he'll say something, take a jab or whatever. And that's fine. That's how Twitter is. It's whatever. And one time he we were going back and forth a little bit, and he, in a tweet, it was 3 things. It was Down syndrome Dylan, which who gives a fuck? I really don't care that much. And then it was basically faking my sexuality, and also I faked my suicide attempt. Right?
Yikes.
And
That's dark.
Where does the Down syndrome thing
Well,
come
but
from?
then wait,
The Down syndrome thing is just, I think, he was just calling me. I don't know. He's just accusing me of everything. I don't.
Well, no,
I think it was just a joke.
Let me just explain it so that even though explaining the meme destroys just how hilarious it was. But honestly, and I'm not fucking around here, if you take a picture of Dylan and you put it right next to a person with Down syndrome, the guy looks like he's got fucking Down syndrome. Like, you can't get mad at me for this, okay? So
yes, I can't get mad at you. It's such a bad take. What the fuck are you talking about? This is just the stuff isn't toxic enough, and this is where we've gone. So they don't go directly into his eyes.
I made the meme, right? And I put it up there, and it was fucking hilarious. Now, you can get mad about it all you want, but that's just the truth, right? People make fun of me all the time. I get it. I understand. But that's what memeing is. It's funny shit.
What about
I do want to know quickly, really quickly, if I may, since it was taken a while ago. IRI, you said you wanted to add something.
Well, I think, wasn't Rhizome in that same call with Dylan and Andrew or something? So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the context was fully explained. I feel like, Dylan, you explained how the tweet came about, but people...
I got to see Rhizome's lighting situation. That was really interesting. He had like some big honkers, like 2 of them showing up his whole green screen. It was pretty involved.
And I don't know how to bring this over to the fucking other topic, right? Because I just didn't know how to bring it over to the other topic, and it was also kind of boring. And so I messaged Rhizome like, yo, how do I fucking bring this into the conversation?
You wanted him to spice it up, didn't you?
Yeah, I wanted him to bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can I give the wording of what you said?
I said, I called it a grenade. Like, hey, can we drop this grenade in this conversation? It's kind of boring.
That's fair.
Kind of like a toxicity bomb.
Well, okay, so the wording was this: want to drop a grenade from Dylan. I say, haha, what you thinking? And yes, Dylan says, ask about him doubting my suicide attempt on Twitter. Say you saw it. I did not send this. I said, like, ask him what I asked him what about that? If not, what that is about? If not drama farming. Dylan says, yeah. And I was like, I don't know the tweet. Do I need the context? And then you send a screenshot to reference the tweet. And then I scroll through Twitter, find the tweet, and then we pick up from there.
Okay. So he admits my response to this would be, if someone says you're doubting your suicide attempt, me having it brought up in conversation, okay, is not adding toxicity, right? Because it is already isn't inherently
butthurt, dude. You just sound butthurt. Like you guys sound butthurt, and you wanted to ambush me because you were fucking butthurt that I made fun of you. Like just say,
yeah, I see that.
Just say VPF. You made fun of me, and it hurt my feelings. When you made fun of me.
Big question. It isn't the Down syndrome Dylan thing, okay? It isn't even the faking sexuality because I get it enough, right? Can you explain the third one at least to me?
Oh God.
Yeah. So if you have a history of being a
like he is kind of a public figure. Like he does run a debate show. He should have hella thick skin, but at the same time, like those are some pretty underhanded jokes. Like it's just kind of lazy and bad. I don't know.
Chronic liar, and you have a history of doing the kinds of shit that you did, especially with Prime Case. I have no incentive to believe a word that comes out of your mouth, and I assume that 99% of the things that you do are for the purpose of attention whoring. Now, as to that, after that meme dropped, one of your friends, and I'm not going to name who that is, came in and actually showed me fairly compelling evidence that you were telling the truth. Now, this shocked me as much as probably it shocked anybody on this panel that Dylan Burns was telling the truth.
Oh my
God.
But
apparently he was, so I dropped it.
Okay.
So you didn't believe
if I might,
him,
because this is
but
very personal and bordering on just personal attacks. If you acknowledge then that you were incorrect in that assessment, Andrew, would you be willing to apologize for inaccurately judging Dylan's character with regards to those particular topics?
I would literally rather drink turpentine and piss on a brush fire than say that I'm sorry to Dylan.
Yo, Vouch said that like a fucking lawyer. It's so funny. Oh, geez, big pop.
Burns about anything ever. But I'll caveat it with this, which is that I was incorrect in my assessment. However, if you have nothing but evidence showing that somebody generally doesn't tell the truth or sets up things like he just did when he tried to set me up, as we just found out, right? Under false pretenses, because this is what people who are chronic liars do. There's no reason for me to believe a word that comes out of this guy's mouth, so I'm just instantly going to assume it's bullshit.
Can I ask you? Wait, can I not respond? Okay.
Oh, wait, no, Dylan, go ahead. Okay. And after that, I'd like to hear from people who are not Andrew or Dylan, however briefly. Dylan, go ahead.
You can't say that I'm crying about being and angry about being called names, and then when I have somebody bring this up to you in a conversation, right? Then you're saying, Dylan setting me up. This was like a scheme or whatever. This wasn't like something I planned from the fucking beginning. I didn't know how to fucking bring it up. That's why I fucking talked to Rhizome.
You didn't plan it?
I didn't
plan it before I came on?
No,
then why did you say drop the bomb?
Well, no, you can ask Rhizome.
That sounds like it's planned.
You can ask Rhizome.
Right.
He's right there.
What are you talking about?
So wait a moment. Obviously, this is a very back and forth topic.
Oh, this
Everyone
is a
else
weird
can comment on this or on Twitch toxicity broadly, though they seem to be intertwined. Would anyone else like to weigh in?
Well, yeah, I think Chad brought this in as an example of toxicity.
Gotcha. And Sansol has raised his hand multiple times, so please go ahead.
I just want to ask, which part of this equation is the toxic part? Is it the original tweet? Is it the attempted confrontation later on? I would say the original tweet, Sorry,
original
Andrew.
tweet.
Pretty
Yeah.
toxic. All right.
Probably
You're-
pretty
I don't
toxic.
think-
Andrew doesn't
You
care.
laughed
Andrew-
your fucking ass off. I bet you DM'd
Admit-
me and put LOL. I bet you did, Sonzel.
I
bet
don't
you did.
fucking know. But like, is that the toxic part,
don't
or is it
know.
the fucking confrontation part? Because it feels
Yeah.
like you're not willing to say
Probably
that you were
the
toxic
shitty
for, like, tweeting the thing out, but it was toxic for him to try and bring it up in a conversation later on, right?
Like, how's that fair? Yeah.
No, I didn't say any of it was toxic.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, okay then.
So
Okay.
I don't know. Build
Why are you
a different
complaining?
build a different straw man.
Wait, why?
If the
Wait, no. Why are you
claim-
complaining?
wait. If the claim isn't that it's toxic, in what way does this relate to the question being posed?
Well, it doesn't relate to the question that was being posed.
this is so stupid.
Obviously something that was
They're just
personal that he
beefing.
wanted to confront. I don't think any of it was toxic.
Oh, God, they're just
From my
beefing.
perspective, I expect every time I go onto a leftist panel to get ambushed. Why wouldn't I?
Well, Chud brought this up, so
right, yeah.
So
Chud,
shouldn't
you
he explain why this is toxic? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Chud.
Well, okay, the
In
reason I
terms of
think
the
this is-
toxicity, how do you think? Where does this lie?
Well, the reason I just thought it was worth bringing up is
Also,
we're talking about
the one
toxicity,
girl
drama,
can't talk.
and I guess I was just
One woman.
interested to understand how Dylan's actions in this case fit in with his kind of view of Twitch politics as being a kind of drama-riddled hellhole, and a toxic mess.
Stardust, had your hand
No
up for
problem. So I do think that it is toxic. Even sorry, Andrew. I think the actual victim here is Rhizome, because I think Rhizome kind of was dropped into something that, I mean, you're a victim too, but I think Rhizome is even more of a victim.
That shit was
Rhizome
funny.
kinda-
That shit was funny.
Well-
no one's a victim. Stop being a fucking victim.
Okay,
God,
okay,
then
wait a
you
minute, wait a minute,
victim.
wait a minute, Andrew, just a
All
minute,
right,
just a
I'm
minute,
sorry.
Andrew. Okay, when we're talking about the conversation.
This is why people talk over each other, because no one's listening to the women. They always have to fucking shout over the dudes.
I think the conversation where Dylan said, to Rhizome, hey, do you want to drop a bomb? That's the one where Rhizome was kind of set up. It feels like that's kind of like, because then, he didn't know what he was in for.
That's right.
As far as the tweet.
Let me also just point out for the record, because Dylan, this
Yeah.
is the thing that got me the most, is after that, and after I dropped the grenade in the conversation, Dylan just fucked off and walked
He
away.
walked away.
had to use
Yeah,
Why
and
did
then
you do it?
Rhizome was left.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
you can talk about
really?
that all day. Yeah, you can talk about that all day, and I shouldn't have done it. I agree with that.
Okay.
So I mean,
But
like,
here's the
so
thing.
who's the bitch then? Like, you
Well,
did it.
here's-
It's not just
yeah,
an all or nothing thing.
Rhizome did it, but Rhizome I don't think anticipated it to turn into what it did, and
Wow.
he wasn't sure what he was in for, and Dylan walked away. So I
Yeah, he
feel
needed to say
bad
no.
for both Rhizome and Andrew, though more for Rhizome. Sorry, Andrew. As far as sorry, Dylan.
This is like just Twitch poll eating itself. Like, this is just a lot of personal drama.
Our moderator, our esteemed moderator who came in tonight, took time out of
Therapy session.
his day. That was like beep boop 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 or some shit where he's making fun of fucking Burns too, right? Because Dylan Burns is just kind of funny to make fun of. Okay, he's just
Yeah, no,
kind
this
of
is
funny
how
to
it
make
goes.
fun of.
I have no problem. I have no guys. I
Hold
have no
on.
problem.
Three people
with you-
now. Stardust, finish.
Yeah, so sorry. I have no problem with people making fun of each other. I think that's like a great dynamic. I think
normal.
people should be making fun of each other. I like to call Chud Logic. I just realized my passion for calling Chud Logic a fat whore. But I do think that probably Lego
Weird.
Head would be better. But my main point is
out of
that
nowhere.
I think it was very toxic behavior towards Rhizome. I think majority of the toxicity on this platform is
Dylan.
people kind of like pulling the
Don't
rug
you
out from
dad
under
dick
each other.
people? Like, isn't that your
Damn.
shtick?
I
You
do
dad
dad
dick
dick
them?
people,
fucking-
specifically
What is the point of
workers.
that? What's the
Toxic.
point of that?
Specifically,
very
work-
weird.
because they
It's
handle
just,
dad
it's to
dick.
start shit. It's to start
It
shit,
is to start
right?
shit, yeah.
Yeah,
But-
so
but
just
usually
stop
they're
grandstanding.
flabbergasted. They can't
Stardust,
respond to me, so.
stop grandstanding. You like to
Okay.
start shit as much as
I do
everybody
like to start
does.
shit.
I have a question.
Lol.
actually.
Sure.
Right, Rhizome.
Yeah,
How
what
do
up?
you feel this situation related to toxicity in Twitch politics?
Wow.
Do you think it was
Go
toxic?
Vosh.
Do you think this is something people should
What a
avoid doing?
mod.
Do you think it's being overstated here?
Okay, this is the
Natural
thing. I
mod.
don't like being in the middle of this because it's just like it feels like I never really asked to be in this position. I will say, watching back what happened earlier today with Chud and like what Chud was bringing into it gave me a perspective that was like, okay, I do feel like Dylan did kind of like he was more aware of what might happen than I was.
Mhm.
Put me out in the fray, just like left me out to dry, and then in the conversation afterwards with his chat, I kind of kept waiting for him to say like, hey, I asked Rhizome to do this chat. Because his chat was like, Rhizome, it was so fucked up with Rhizome. Rhizome fucked the whole
Right.
conversation up. And it's like,
Right.
okay, like, so there, I do feel like
Right.
my reputation was
Yikes,
put on the line for
Dylan.
the sake of content.
Okay, so
Damn,
let me.
Dylan.
Holy fuck. Okay, so there's been a lot
Damn.
of things said. Okay, so
Damn.
the first thing is that
Yikes.
I wanted to bring it into the conversation. There's probably a good point to say maybe I should have just found a way to bring it into the conversation myself. That's the first thing. The second thing is I just did not just like walk away because I was like I'm going to now just abandon.
This is a pure L stream. Let's see how Dylan handles this L. How does he apologize?
Rhizome to the wolves because I wanted
Body
to
break.
Yes.
Is it a potty break?
It was a potty. It was a.
This is the worst excuse ever.
You didn't even let me finish.
Break.
Oh
Come
my
on.
God.
Okay.
Come on. Okay, hey, us liberals have very loose bladders. Okay, we have inherently loose bladders because we're soy people.
looks pretty upset
okay?
though.
I went to use the bathroom, but I also said afterwards, right? Once you two got heated into it, that I thought Rhizome was doing fine, so I didn't really want to fucking engage when it was like 5 minutes left anyway, and that's why I'm fine talking to you about it any other day of the week too. BPF. I even told you afterwards we can sit down and talk about it another day too. I just wanted a way to bring it in. And honestly, I called it a grenade. I labeled it a grenade, right? I made sure that he had the idea of what he was. I explained in context.
It was a setup, right? I mean, it was a setup.
Not before.
No, it's more like he gave a grenade to a soldier, and he's like, "Go get him." I'm gonna go to the pisser. If you're telling someone you gave them a grenade and you knew you gave them a grenade, then yeah, you probably shouldn't be going to the washroom. It's not a time to be going piss.
Or it happened during the end of the conversation. Like, how do I bring this in?
So I mean, you set the conversation up during the conversation. That's still before the point that it wasn't spontaneous enough.
No, it wasn't.
It was a setup.
At the end of the conversation, I was like, I don't know how to bring this in, so I sent it over.
Oh man, I missed out.
Yeah,
there's
so
some
it was a setup.
drama.
We can call it. But you made it sound like I set this up beforehand.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter the chronological order.
Okay.
Other than it was before, right?
Okay.
it was a setup.
Wait, if I may, Sanso, I saw you had your hand up. Then Stardust.
Okay, I just want to ask, like, does anybody have a defined line for what they consider toxicity is? Because like we haven't really even talked about toxicity. Yeah. How we just kind of got into interpersonal shit. Like and we could keep on going on it. Like I don't know anything about the situation.
I think so. I think he said it. They're just talking about personal shit. We're gonna end the Dylan Burns segment. This is kind of boring. It's kind of funny. I feel bad for Rhizome. Rhizome's really great. He's really interesting. He's creating good content. So I think I'm gonna just move on to the poetry and music. I got a lot of work. I got a lot of practice I got to do. So yeah, let's try that, everybody. Music and poetry. I got like a 20-minute set, so I got to work through that. I also haven't like warmed up or anything, so it's a bit sketch. So don't expect my best, okay? Don't expect the best out of me, all right? Okay, let's do some music and poetry. Oh, are you heading out? I'll see you later, Demand Better. You have a good one. Au revoir. Au revoir à la prochaine. See you later. You're gonna miss out on the poetry. Gonna do one poem, then 2 songs, then 2 poems. Gotta get to work. Okay, you have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, so let's see how long this is. I'm gonna try to do a full run through. We'll turn the mic up nice and loud. There we go. Something like that. How about this? Yeah, okay. Drop that a bit. I'm gonna mute it just as I move the mic. Okay, so the first poem will be called Wither Music. Let's put a timer on. I'm going to put a timer on. Stick to it. I got 20 minutes, okay? And that includes all the bouncing around and feeling awkward, all that jazz. I also have to get like some sort of applause line. Makes me feel better. Okay. Here. YouTube. Applause. All right. Okay. So, first poem. Whew, let's go. Stopwatch. Okay. Timer's on. So the first poem will be Wither Music. And then I'll bring out the guitar. Whither music, and where from? Listen. I have fallen off a fading fanfare a few times too many. Often, hot jazz musicians, hopped up on pomp and pizzazz, drag me by my ear whenever their cadence spills into a doo-wop two-step, and I find myself toe-tapping against my will. How now, rhythm? Have you stolen my body from me again? I forgot the sound of your fury, the fleet-footed fandangos and soft silky tangles which fasten my feet to the floor. And whether I'm rich or poor, music, you move me from within with no engine. I speak with no words. I understand without knowing. I feel beyond mere being. It takes me back to when I first felt blessed to hear my heart hearken hard against my chest, when I knew that this drum would become the meter of all this strife, that in my core, a metronome would measure and mete out my life. But then I grew up, and my brain began to scan and train itself to be a kick-ass pattern recognition machine, and my dreams became unseemly, tainted by hormones raging. Amid all the acclamation of aging, the acne, the awkward locker room showers, the eternal hour of unrequited love, my heart became a background pulse in the orchestra of my culmination, a faint ticking time bomb, dutifully noting the beats per minute. So, for what it's worth, I'll listen to my body and my breath until the sound reminds me of my birth and the warmth of the womb. For it was there that I first timed my tempo to my mother's measured meter. Ba-dum, ba-dum, and my heart did match her tune. In sum, music precedes me from before the time that I begun. And when I go, and my time here is all done, whither music, and where from, where from, where from, where from. Thank you. Okay, on to music. I'm gonna mute the mic and set up for the next song. All right, here we go. Now I think this is a bit trickier because I think last time I was plugged in. Yeah, let me try that out. I'm gonna. Okay, let me know if you can hear the guitar okay. My voice might be a bit weak. This is why I'm practicing. The other people who are performing, yeah, I had to kill the mic because I was attaching stuff. The other people who are performing Sunday are like actual singers, like blues singers and stuff. Oh man, I feel so embarrassed. But here we go. I'm hoping my guitar playing sort of helps. But okay, let's. Oh, I just need my footstool. Okay, got a footstool. Sorry for all the bumping. This is not the most comfortable. Okay, the next song is called A Game of Go. loud, eh? Let's try this. Okay. One more change. There we go. Should be able to hear myself a bit better. I actually don't need my earphones. Now that I think about it. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Do you really want to play this game of Go? The board is set up. I know that you know how to place each piece and take my territory. Oh, answer my pleas. I'm down on my knees. Don't go. Oh, what's going on there? What the hell? Whoa. See, I didn't do a sound check before. I don't like actually tune or anything. Alright, let's try again. Jesus Christ. Yes, hopefully that doesn't happen tomorrow. This is why we're practicing. How's the sound? Do you really want to play this game of Go? The board is set up. I know that you know how to place each piece and take my territory. Oh, answer my pleas. I'm down on my knees. Don't go with the breeze. Thank you, Lord Mama. The dinner. The table is set. The dinner is prepped. Your eyes are dry, but I know that you've wept. Is the fish well done? Am I doing you right? Oh, let's not tonight. I'm all out of fight. We slept on broken kites. The pillow's been fluffed. The bed has been made. The sheets are smooth out. We lie where we lay. We sing our secrets, but live in a lie. I wish I could cry. I wish that your side was a rose parade floating by. Do you know how to say enough is enough? No way we could tell love could be this rough, like a turbulent sea or a frequency. The waves break us free. Oh, can't you see? You're drifting away from me. Do we really have to play this game of Go? The board is set up. I know that you know how to place each piece and take my territory. Oh, answer my pleas. I'm down on my knees. Don't go with the breeze. Ugh. Couple awkward parts there. Oh jeez. Oh jeez. More than a few awkward parts. Awesome. Yeah, this is it. Once like you're at the show, when the adrenaline's pumping and you're like, okay, I only get this one shot, then basically all those little mistakes kind of go away. It's interesting the way that plays. But when it's a bit more relaxed, like all sorts of stuff slips through. Okay, next song is called I Don't Care. Thanks for caring and checking out music and poetry. Special place in my heart for all the musicians and the poets. Okay, next song. Let's go. I don't care. Oh man. I don't know if you know that I know that you know that we're going I don't care if you care that I don't care if you don't care that we're going Yay, music. Yay. What'd you think? How's that? Kind of forgot to take a breath. Oh, you like that one so far, eh? Oh, nice. I almost thought to do something different. Okay, I'm going to stick with the set. I'm at minute 15, so technically I should really rush. We're going to go on to 2 more poems, and we'll see if those hold up compared. Next poem is called Beauty. Huh? Oh, it's a real swooner, okay? I'm hoping to melt some hearts with this one. So I'm just going to mute, and then we'll do that. Okay. So, next poem is called Beauty. I hope you like it. I recovered it. It was like forgotten and fallen deep into my blog. Disappeared completely. Okay. This hat is also way too big for me. Okay. Beauty. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Iridescent. I see joy reflected back at me. Our twin irises like narrow halos. I encircle you as an aperture sky. You are beautiful. You see beauty in yourself and in others, so you are beautiful. We do not regard the rivulets or the divots in the countryside as blemishes. They are as part of all I take in, as the wind is composed of its own emptiness, the way the moon stores shade as it mirrors light, the way every ocean crest is coupled by twin troughs. And in my time, I've seen time. Its ripples, its waves, its squalls. Hold still. We will only ever have this moment, and it will never be enough. I touch the water of your eyes, and you peak like spring tide. Your sun-kissed gaze showers me with the rays stored in the dimple of your cheeks. I feel warm inside. Elastic as the air we breathe, I speak with voiceless plosives, tense with perspicacity, parting the seas of your typhoon dreams. Where shall we go from here? Does beauty ever have to answer that question? You are a city, growing, changing, impossible to flit through in an instant, captivated as I am by the sights and the landmarks. Oh, the history that seems to drip off the horizon like a beating drop of water, flipping my world on its head. I should weep, for all I know that will one day be lost. I've dealt with the devil. I learned nothing from Faust. The cost of love is all I know to be true. Soon, I too will be swept away by the rivers that part ways in the channels of your heart. Rivers so great, they drink my tears like rainfall. Until then, let me stay but for a spell in a room perched above the plaza. Let me face the sunsets here until they kiss my cheeks crimson too. Every sunset, I blush when I think of you. Yeah! I got chills. You got chills? So good. I can't believe I lost that poem. Isn't that a swooner? I hope to give someone, at least one person, the spine chills. Okay, the last one's really intense. And will be like trigger warning and everything. We going hard, we're going dark. So last poem. I'm at minute 19, so yeah, I really gotta speed this up. Okay, last poem is called Tear Down the Statues. And hopefully I can pull it off. Okay. Tear down the statues. Drown them in paint, dye them blood red. Force everyone to see all of the dead. Tear down the statues. What are these virtues? Cast on the crowns, cast in cement. Cast on the systems that lie and torment. Tear down the statues. New voices break through. Who got to be white. Power won't concede unless you can fight. Tear down the statues. Let chaos ensue. No end in sight, powers that be. Drag us all down into calamity. Tear down the statues. The past is preview. Question it all, don't let them lie. How deaf can we be? The past is preview. Question it all, decolonize. How deaf can we be to all of the cries? Tear down the statues. Don't let them construe. Don't let them lie. Truth can be mine. Truth can be yours and ours all of the time. Tear down the statues. Subvert and subdue. Grab all you can. Pull every strand. This nation's fabric that rules over land. Tear down the statues. This country's tattoo. Under the skin, it's permanent. Pass down every skin. Pass down every sin to all the children. Tear down the statues. Tear down the statues, 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 you, tear down the statues, me, tear down the statues, you, tear down the statues, we, tear down the statues, you, tear down the statues, me, tear down the statues, you, tear down the statues, we, tear down the statues, 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 tear down the statues. What are these virtues? New voices break through the chaos in, through the past is free. If you don't let them come, through subvert and sub, through living in mill, through this country's statue. Tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues. Drown them in pain, cast down the crowns. Who got to be? No end in sight. Question it all, don't let them lie. Grab all you can, rot out a core. Under the skin, tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues. Dye them blood red, cast in cement. Got to be white, powers that be. Decolonize, truth can be mine. Pull every strand, what was it for? It's permanent. Tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues, tear down the statues. Force everyone to see all of the dead. Cast on the systems that lie and torment. Power won't concede unless you can fight. Drag us all down into calamity. How death can be beat to all of the cries. Truth can be yours and ours all of the time. This nation's fabric that rules over land. Borders or hoarders, they only want more. Pass down every sin to all the children. Tear down the statues for all the missing. Tear down the statues for all the missing. Pass down every sin to all the children. Tear down the statues for all the missing. Tear down the statues for all the missing. Pass down every sin to all the children. Tear down the statues for all the missing, tear down the statues for all the missing, 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 all of them sing, 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 all of them sing. Woo! Whew, yeah, what a crazy poem, eh? Huh? Well, so negative. It is very negative. It's very dark. But that's the showstopper. I think it's gonna be the last thing people see. I think I'm coming last. It'll be the last poem. And I think it'll be a really solid one. I think it'll be a really good one to do. I can get really into it. I can yell. I can be a bit louder. Fucked it up a few times. Everything I did had one minor mistake in it. At least one mistake. Geez, I need more practice. Not enough time. But, hey, actually, now that I think about it, I should be doing a collab with Paradigm Shift tomorrow. I think might do like a Sunday cipher. See if I can get like a third person in there that does poetry. I'll see if he's still down and free, but could be a pretty cool stream. Paradigm's pretty sweet. I haven't really heard his poetry in long form. I've heard like one or two poems, so I kind of want to dig in a bit more. Give me a chance to sort of like practice. Yeah, Paradigm. Yeah, he seemed open. Half white, full black works tomorrow, so I'll have to try to figure out a time when he's available. So yeah, there you go, everybody. Hopefully tomorrow's good. On that note, I won't be streaming tomorrow morning, and that's because I'll be setting up for Paradigm, like early afternoon maybe. So a bit later of a start. We'll see how it is. Maybe like 10 or 11, and go from there. Hopefully I get lots of practice between now and tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know where it's gonna be live streamed. I'll see if I can figure that out and put it on social media so you can watch, or at least get the VODs going. Thanks so much for listening and supporting. Hopefully, everyone likes it as much tomorrow as you did. But yeah, that's the end of the stream, everybody. We did all the things. Everything I said I would do, I did, and I showed up on time. That's worth something, I think. I hope you had fun. I had fun. I'll see you later tomorrow. You have a lovely day. Bye, everyone. Stay cool. Stay collected. Support your local co-op. Oh. All right, bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.